Welcome Buffalo Trace fans to your complete guide of the single oak project. Let's take a deep dive into one of the most ambitious experiments conducted to create the perfect bourbon. It all started in 1999 when Mark Brown, Harlan Wheatley, and the late Ronnie Edens, a longtime warehouse manager, hand-selected trees from the Ozarks of Missouri to make the single oak barrels, all in the name of finding the holy grail of bourbon, as Brown puts it. The single oak project focused on 7 key variables to help identify what would make the perfect bourbon. The variables included the part of the tree used to make the barrel, the type of wood grain, the length of time the barrel staves were seasoned, the char level of the barrel, the mash bill type, the entry proof, and the aging location of the barrels. Let's review each of these variables, beginning with the part of the tree used to make the barrel. After selecting 96 trees, each was cut and divided into top and bottom sections, yielding 192 barrels. These barrels were crafted exclusively from either the top or bottom of each tree, allowing researchers to evaluate how a tree's section impacts its flavor profile. The next variable in the equation was the wood grain type. The selection process emphasized trees with diverse wood grain structures ranging from tight, average, or coarse based on the number of growth rings per inch. Tight wood grain structures had more growth rings per inch because they grew slower, resulting in a denser wood. Coarse wood grain had less growth rings per inch from growing faster and was softer. Barrels used for the single oak project were made from wood with growth rings ranging from 7 to 21 per inch. This variation enabled researchers to explore how the wood grain structure influences the flavor profile of whiskey. Once the wood for the barrels was selected, they were seasoned 2 different ways. Seasoning bourbon barrels, also known as air drying, prepares the wood by breaking down compounds and releasing tannins. Half of the barrels were left outside in all weather conditions for 6 months, and the other half for 12 months. When comparing a wood barrel seasoned for 6 months versus 12 months, a longer seasoning period will generally result in a less pronounced oak flavor, with a more subtle and nuanced character due to the wood having more time to naturally lose its tannins and volatile compounds. Whereas a 6-month seasoned barrel will normally impart a stronger, more noticeable oak flavor. Char level was the next component. Char levels selected for the barrels were either a number 3 or a number 4. Char number 3 is typically considered a heavy char, with a burn time around 35 seconds to bring out caramel and vanilla notes. Char number 4 is the heaviest char, with a burn time around 55 seconds, often called alligator char, which intensifies the smoky and deep flavors. Following that came the mash bill. The mash bill, or the mix of grains used to craft the bourbon, featured either rye or wheat as the secondary grain, with corn as the primary ingredient. Of the 192 barrels, half used the wheat recipe, while the other half used a rye recipe. Rye mash bills are known for their bold, spicy flavor notes, while wheat tends to produce a bourbon with a softer, sweeter character in comparison. The subsequent focus was on the entry proof, set at either 105 or 125 proof. A 105 entry proof allows for more water-soluble compounds to be extracted, resulting in a smoother, sweeter bourbon with enhanced fruit and caramel notes, though it requires longer aging. In contrast, a 125 entry proof emphasizes alcohol-soluble compounds, creating a bolder, spicier bourbon with stronger oak influence and faster maturation. The last variable was the aging location. Half of the barrels were stored in a traditional rickhouse, and the other half in a warehouse with concrete floors. Aging in a rickhouse typically produces a complex, oak-forward bourbon due to temperature-driven aging, while aging in a concrete warehouse often yields a softer, smoother bourbon with sweeter and fruitier flavors. Once each of the barrels aged for at least 8 years, bourbon lovers across the world tasted, reviewed, and voted for their favorites. The mission was to pick the perfect bourbon based on real feedback from everyday whiskey enthusiasts, and the response was phenomenal. Participants contributed a total of 5,086 reviews, with each bourbon being evaluated an average of 26.2 times. On June 18, 2015, barrel number 80 was announced as the public's choice out of the 192 different barrel options. The winning barrel was crafted from the lower half of the tree with an average grain structure, 13 growth rings per inch to be exact. The staves were seasoned for a full year and given a number 4 char. The bourbon was made with a rye mash bill, entered the barrel at 125 proof, and aged in a warehouse with concrete floors. So what comes next? Buffalo Trace has been producing new batches inspired by the winning formula from barrel number 80 somewhat under the radar. But the wait is almost over. Rumor has it that bottles of the new production will be available in 2025, and the much-anticipated tasting experience of this bourbon will be within reach. Thank you to all the viewers in the Buffalo Trace Daily Herd for watching, and let us know what you think. If you're passionate about bourbon and want to join the herd, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Also, remember to check out our site at buffalotracedaily.com for all of our content. Cheers!